concrete walls. There's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, y'all? Welcome to the live stream. There we go. Welcome to the live stream. I've started without you. Ooh, now we got a new seltzer, a new alcoholic seltzer on the block. This is the Michelob Ultra Organic Seltzer Mixed Berry. White Claw, not the only seltzer in the game in the Bardwell house. Now, in this case, what happened was that I had a get together at my house, and people came over, and when they left, someone had left a bunch of this in my cooler, which I feel makes it fair game, and I actually think it is disrespectful not to drink it to your guests. Right? That's what you do, right? Now, there are many ways in which I am not a snob. I'm not a gimbal snob, for example. Quadcopter gimbals. But I do confess that I am a little bit of a beer snob. Like I probably would not drink Michelob beer. I wouldn't know if it's good or bad beer. I just would think to myself, am I the kind of person who drinks Michelob beer? And then say no. Which is a little embarrassing because I imagine many of the people watch. It's a very popular beer. And so what does that mean? What do I think of you if you drink Michelob? Well, let's not dive too deep into that because of what it could do to our relationship. Probably just means I'm a little stuck up. But apparently I'm not too good to drink alcoholic seltzer. Like, figure that out. I won't drink shitty beer, but this other drink that's completely shitty and isn't beer, I'm not too good for, apparently. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. Anyway, we like what we like. That's all I have to say. That's right. Right. The thing is that beer is trying to be beer. In my mind, beer is trying to be beer. And like, I know that's not true. Many people drink cheap Pilsners for the same reason that you drink this, because you just want something to drink that has alcohol in it and doesn't taste too bad. But for me, like, if I'm going to drink beer, I want it to be beer. And those cheap American Pilsners are mostly alcohol water with a slightly beer flavor. And I'm just like, no, I'm not. I don't want that. But this has no illusions about what it's trying to be. Anyway, welcome to the live stream. Alcohol is poison. You're absolutely right, Cheech FPV. It totally is. No, you're right. Welcome to the live stream. I'm very happy that you're here. I'm very happy that I'm here. If I weren't here, I wouldn't be happy. I wouldn't be anything. Here we are. We're going to hang out for a little while. I'm going to take your questions. I'm going to drink the rest of this organic seltzer. Oh, it's organic. Blah-de-da. And we're going to hang out for a couple hours. Here's you. Here's you in the YouTube chat. Here are the much cooler and more attractive people in my Discord server. Why are they so cool and attractive? Because they pay me every month to say that. And you can join them if you prefer. People want to see my shirt. This is a FPV Lux shirt. I can't remember what month this was. Which pilot this was, but FPV Lux sent me this. Yeah. Whose shirt was this? This wasn't mine. It says Fire. I don't know. I don't remember. I don't know if you can still get it either. FPV Lux is the website, though. See for yourself. So we're going to take your questions. I'm going to take questions here in the chat. I'm going to take questions here in the Discord server. And if you really want to make sure I get to your question, hit the $, leave a super chat, and I will read your super chats just a little later, like this one from Decodester. I'll be getting to that. Where do you go for the best FPV shirts? FPV Drama Llama. This isn't my shirt, is it? That's not the design they had for my shirt. My shirt was, I remember, I don't have a great memory for things sometimes, but that, I remember that this wasn't my shirt. My shirt was blue with yellow and had my head on it with things going into my head. David, welcome back to the RC Hobby. Just found my page. Awesome. The Wesley. We'll start with this question from the Wesley. Any reason why my 3-inch running the most recent Blue Jay firmware won't save as DShot 600 with bidirectional on? It keeps reverting to DShot 300. My ESC supports 600. Okay, so the first thing, Wesley, is that what your ESC supports has no bearing on what your flight controller will save. Okay? So if you try to select DShot 600 and it goes to 300, that doesn't have anything to do with your ESC. And it doesn't have anything to do with your Blue Jay firmware on the ESC either. If you select a DShot type that your ESC doesn't support, then the ESC will not spin the motors, and you'll get, it won't talk to the flight controller, but the flight controller, you could still select the option. So if your flight controller keeps reverting to DShot 300, it makes me wonder if Betaflight has tried to do something clever with the pit. I don't think so. So Betaflight's position is that if you have a 8K PID loop, then DShot 600 is the right one to choose. If you have a 4K PID loop, then DShot 300 is the right one to choose. If we go all the way down to a 2K PID loop, will it let me choose the faster one? I think it will. But let's see if they've done something clever here. No, see, DShot 600. It hasn't changed at all. So I am really struggling to think of what would cause Betaflight to refuse to let you run DShot 600. I mean, I can't think of anything that would do that. So, like, one thing you could do is this. Oh, here's an idea. One thing you could do is this. Go into the CLI tab. Is it get motor PWM protocol? Yes. So type get motor PWM protocol. Okay. And that'll show your current motor protocol. And what I want you to see is, notice that it says allowed values. Does yours show DShot 600 as an allowed value? I mean, surely it does. I can't imagine why it wouldn't. But check that. And then try to set it. Set motor PWM protocol equals DShot 600. And see if it gives you an error. So what I'm wondering is if you have an issue with your configurator, like maybe you're using the SpeedyBee app or you're using an older version of Betaflight configurator and it's not compatible with what's on your flight controller. It's just a guess. Try that, the Wesley. There you go. That's what we do here. That's what we do here. We answer your questions and try and help you get your quadcopters flying better and just generally have a good old time. There is a bug in the configurator that messes up the ability to turn on bidirectional DShot. We covered it on the news previously. 661FPV says that if you go to 4K PID loop, it will automatically set you to DShot 300. But will it prevent you from choosing 600 if you want to? The thing is, Wesley, here's the thing, Wesley, though. Here's the takeaway. If you are running a 4K PID loop, the Betaflight dev's position is that there isn't really an advantage to running DShot 600. The Betaflight dev's position is that there's not any point in running DShot at a significantly lower latency than the PID loop. I will point out that Alexander Fedorov, the KISS developer, the KISS Ultra developer, disagrees. His argument is that the more you can reduce the latency between the flight controller and the ESC, the better. And that faster DShot versions finish transmitting the packet sooner, which is true. So Alexander Fedorov would probably say that you should run DShot 2400 no matter what your PID loop rate is, because it reduces latency between the flight controller and the ESC. The Betaflight devs would tell you that if you're running a 4K PID loop, there isn't really an advantage to running DShot 600, and you just run DShot 300 and be happy. So there is. RC Ritter. Oh, man. Oh, man. Do we want to go there? Do we want to go there? Chris Rosser, starting shit again. No, I'm joking. Chris Rosser, come out of the woodwork with this video. Who makes the best 5-inch motor? And what he said in this video that has brought out some controversy is that Bob Ruge, Kebab FPV's 25 millimeter motor is not appropriate for 5-inch props, even though it is commonly used as one. Now, I want to start with this. Joseph Dahari, that's amazing. Okay, all right. I want to start by I've lost my train of thought. I want to start by saying that I don't think that Chris Rosser is a pot stirrer, if you will. I watched the whole video. At no point did I feel that Chris Rosser was intentionally stirring drama. I thought that he reported the data. He drew conclusions based on the data. He reported his conclusions and his recommendations in a very, very neutral way. And in fact, I thought he tried to be very kind to the 25 millimeter motors. He started, and frankly, this is a case where coming from an English guy, the way that he complimented the motors almost read to me like a scathing insult, but he did compliment the motors. I don't think he was intentionally trying to be mean to them, but he said things like, let's start with the positives. This is a very good looking motor. And I was like, oh, ow, ow, ow. But what he said was that he didn't think that the 25 millimeter motor was appropriate for 5-inch props. And his argument, and you should go watch his whole video if you want. But his argument, sorry, I got a little bit of a coffee stain on the desk. It was driving me crazy. I had to make a little, just wipe it off. Sorry about that. His argument is basically that those motors are so big that they have more torque than they need to spin a 5-inch prop, that them being wider rather than taller compromises their responsiveness, that if you did feel that you needed a motor of that size, you would be better off with something like a 2208, which is taller but narrower and therefore more responsive, and that the additional torque of those motors really would be most beneficial on a 5.5 or a 6-inch prop. And when he said that, I thought that's actually, when Bob first released the 25 millimeter motor, he said that it was optimal for a 5.25-inch prop and that he was working with, I forget who he was working with, to release a 5.25-inch prop. Now, that doesn't change the fact that a whole lot of people, including myself, like to run that motor on a 5-inch prop. But when Chris first said this is not ideal for 5-inch props, I thought that's kind of what Bob said when he first released the motor. The other thing that stood out to me is when the 25 millimeter motor very first came out, I was really impressed with how light it was compared to other motors in that same rough size. I believe it was around 36, maybe 35 grams, maybe a little less. I don't remember. But immediately after that first batch of motors, the first batch of motors, you may recall, was completely defective, not made to his spec, and had to be scrapped. And then they were out of stock for months and months and months. And he got the second batch of motors, which is what I'm running on my build right now. That second batch of motors was a little bit heavier. And they're coming in closer to 40 grams, depending on the, which is like, when I looked at the iFlight 2506 motor, I said, that's fine, but the FPV cycle motor is like 5 grams lighter, so it's not the same thing. But that's not really true anymore. They're pretty close to the same weight. So I feel like some of the things that Chris said about Bob's motor, Bob would agree with. Although Bob probably, I know from the comment section that Bob disagrees with some aspects of Chris's approach. And I feel like there's no disputing Chris's data. If Chris says that the 25 millimeter motor is less responsive, then it just is. Like, I believe that he didn't like just screw up his test stand data completely. I'm willing to give him that benefit of the doubt. But what I'm not sure I agree about is Chris's position is that subjective flight test results are too unpredictable, too subjective, and basically can't be trusted. And I see where he's coming from there. You really cannot get a blind A/B test when you're flying a real quad. You cannot perfectly repeat the test. It's very difficult to do a blind test because most people are just going to swap their own motors and fly them back to back. And that, in fact, is what I did when I first tested the FPV cycle motors. But Chris's argument is that, therefore, we must rely exclusively on the thrust stand data since pilots' subjective experience is too messy and can't be trusted. And I'm not willing to go that far, personally. As much as I appreciate and respect the work that Chris is doing, and I'm happy that someone's doing it, because I don't think that you can, I don't think that you can just throw out everyone's subjective experience by saying, oh, it's too messy and it's not repeatable. I think a lot of people's subjective experience should be thrown out because it is messy and not repeatable and just plain wrong. And I think that the things Chris says need to be taken into consideration. But like in that video, he says that if you want, I don't remember the exact argument, but he says basically instead of going with a 25 millimeter motor at like 1850 kV, you should go with like a 2207 at like 2000 kV. And he shows a curve and he shows where the curves cross and those two motors should perform similarly. And I'm like, that's just not true. Like, there's a reason that very, very few people run 6S 2000 kV 2207. It doesn't fly well. It kills your battery. It'll get super hot and it just won't do well. So I do think there's more to it than what Chris is saying. But I do think that what Chris is saying has to be assumed to be correct. So you can't say Chris's data is wrong unless you can show that he's messed up somehow. I think his data and his theory is correct. I just think that there may be more to it when you actually put the motors in the air. And here's the other thing I'll say, and then we'll maybe move on to this from this topic. But I think that there is almost nobody in the world who has put more time into flying different motors and props and frames than Bob Ruge. I would make that case. And no, his tests are not blind. I think most of the time he knows what motor he's got and he's feeling for a certain thing. And no, he doesn't have the same academic theoretical background to be able to describe what he's feeling and back it up with theory the way that Chris does. But I think that the amount of time that Bob has put into flying and testing has to be respected. And that if Bob said, I disagree with you, Chris, because I've flown these motors and I feel that there's a difference, I would say I think we need to look deeper and see if there is, because let's face it, Chris has put these motors on a thrust stand, and he's done throttle ramps with them, and he's got data. Okay, absolutely, unimpeachable. But he hasn't flown them. I mean, he's probably flown some of them. I don't think he's as experienced a pilot as Bob. It's not a slam. It's not a dig. It just, I think, is a fact. And I think that Bob deserves a little bit more credibility for his just hours and hours and hours of stick time than just saying, well, I put the motor on a thrust stand and you're wrong. And maybe he is wrong. But yeah. Anyway. The other thing I'll say is this. I think that a lot of times people fly motors and they try to explain what they're feeling, and they use the wrong language to explain what they're feeling because they don't know the right way to explain it. So, like, a lot of people said that 2306 motors had better resolution down low than 2207. And an argument has been made that what actually is happening is those are just smaller motors, so they make less thrust. Therefore, they have more resolution because they make less thrust. A weaker motor will have more resolution than a more powerful motor within the same throttle curve. And that they don't actually have a more linear throttle curve, which you can demonstrate with test sand. But people said 2306 motors are more linear down low, or more linear, or whatever. And that probably wasn't true. But what those people were describing was a real thing that they were feeling, which is that when they flew 2306 motors, they felt like they had more resolution. Okay? People say that low-pitch props, like a 5130 or something, are more linear. Are they more linear? Who knows? But they notice a difference in the flight field, and they try to explain it. And if you then come along and say, well, you're actually wrong. They're not more linear. Okay, you might be right, but the person is still describing something that they're actually feeling. And the fact that they're using the wrong terminology to describe it doesn't change the fact that they are, in fact, feeling something that's real. So, there we go. I'm glad that Kebab is doing the work that he's doing. I'm glad that Chris Rosser is doing the work that he's doing. Both of them are advancing the hobby in very, very real ways. But I don't think anybody should look at Chris's video and say, well, Bob's full of shit. And I don't think anybody should look at Bob saying 25 millimeter is the holy grail and just take his word for it. Anyway. There we go. All right. Well, we're nearly a half hour into the stream, and it's time to take some super chats. I appreciate your patience. Decode Sir, thank you for a $2 super chat. Vista video loss after flips, 10-volt pad. FC try VBAT? Yes, exactly. Just about the only thing that causes your Vista or your air unit to lose video is the voltage regulator is browning out, or you have a bad wire. Either of those could be. If it's happening after flips, the most likely explanation is that the surge of the motors during the flip causes the voltage regulator to brown out. So if you have a Vista and you're running 6S or less, move it to VBAT directly. There you go. Charles Marseille says, it's like art at some point. Feel is not about power. The problem, Charles, is, so number one, fly whatever motor makes you happy. You like white motors, fly a PV cycle or fly steel motors. Who cares? It's your money. It's your time. Fly whatever makes you happy. The idea of feel is very, very difficult to characterize. And the problem is that what Chris is trying to do is take subjective, messy stuff and quantify it with data. And he's running into people who just want to fly based on feel, potentially. And feel is not scientific. And it's difficult because, like, feel is in your head as much as it is in your fingers and the sticks. So if I give you a quad and I don't tell you anything about it and I say fly it, you're going to have a different experience than if I show it to you. Do you guys remember that episode of Penn and Teller? Penn and Teller's Bullshit? I believe it was an episode of Bullshit where they fed people, I think it was water, and they claimed that the water was this artisanal water and it was really just tap water. And people were talking about how amazing the water was. And we look at that and we go, man, these people are idiots. They're not idiots. They're normal people. Placebo effect is real. The bottle that I pour you the wine from affects your perception of how the wine tastes. That's how the human brain works. And you can't say, well, we should all be perfectly rational actors. The fact is that the wine tastes better if it comes from a fancy bottle. And all that matters, there is no wine. Right? Think about the Matrix. My brain, the Matrix is telling my brain that this is a juicy steak. There is no steak. There is no wine. There's only neurons firing in your brain telling you how good the wine tastes or how good the steak tastes. So if the fact that the wine comes from a fancy bottle makes it taste better, it makes it taste better. And if the fact that you look at your quad and you see these fancy shiny motors and you go, damn, I love my quad, makes it feel better, it feels better and you enjoy flying it more. And that's valid. But it doesn't mean that the motor is more efficient or has more resolution. Those are factual claims that can be tested and then contradicted. I'm pretty sure that if you give people a quad blind and you ask them to tell the difference between 2306 and 2207 is a video Rotorite did, and even pro pilots like Vanover couldn't tell the difference. It's pretty subtle. Anyway, David I, thanks for $3 Australian. No question, just a donation. Thank you. Eric's RC says, who needs facts? No. I don't want to be misinterpreted as anti-science. I am pro-science. I care about facts. I also acknowledge what I was saying there is that people's perception of feel is affected by their perception of the motors that they're running or the quad that they're running. So when people talk about a motor having a certain feel, they in fact are kind of right, because the way they feel when they fly it is affected by their knowledge. But in a blind test, the feel wouldn't be there. Virgin FPV. Take it easy. Jesus Christ. Will you take it easy? Virgin FPV, everything has to be 120 degrees. Is that right? Take it easy. What's the reason 180 people haven't hit the like button yet? Asks Vampire with a $5 super chat. Why haven't you hit the like button yet? It matters. Hit the like button. Fine. The number of screws has it has no effect. It doesn't matter, man. As long as the motor is snug and secured to the arm, the number of screws is irrelevant. Christ almighty. It's irrelevant. T-Bird FPV, thanks for a $5 super chat. Can you use the DJI Smart Controller as an FPV controller with an air unit? No, you cannot. The DJI Smart Controller only works as a controller with, I think it's Mavic. Joe CJ Rod, thanks for a $5 super chat. Are you getting a Steam Deck? I am not. I'm curious as to whether the touchpads could emulate gimbals and what that feels like to an experienced pilot. Seems very unlikely that would work. Corey, thanks for a $5 super chat. Long Dollar Bill, thanks for a $5 super chat. How's your editor doing in Ukraine? He is currently in Italy. With his his home country. He is working to support the effort back home in ways that I don't feel like disclosing unless he decides that he wants to do that. I am incredibly proud and impressed at the things he's doing, and am honored to be able to support him in whatever way that I can. That's what I'll say about that. But he is for the moment, he is not in imminent danger of being hurt by military action. Yeah. So that's good for him. Everybody contributes in the way that they can, and he has, yeah. Corey, thanks for a $5 super chat. Watching you, I spent $1,500 at iFlight and 2 weeks and no shipping update. Should I be worried? Well, I couldn't tell you, Corey. I mean, you should ask iFlight support. Obviously, I can't help you with that. I also would be concerned at 2 weeks, no shipping update. All I can say is that you should contact support, and bear in mind that China has, if you order from the China warehouse, China has been under lockdown. So many companies have been unable to go to work, although I would still think they would be like answering emails, but I don't know. Version FPV, honestly, man, you really need to take some time to understand why things are the way they are before you think that you're going to come in and change everything up. You have all these ideas, like your idea that a quadcopter with 3 points of thrust would be more stable because 3 points define a plane. Prove it, but more fundamentally, like, talk to people. There's two possibilities here. One is that you're a genius who sees things that no one else sees, and everyone disagrees with you until you prove yourself right and then change everybody's mind. Or you don't know what you're talking about, and you need to shut up and listen to people who know better than you, who actually live this for years and years and years. And my money's on the second one, with all due respect. That wasn't very respectful. Keikamanx, thank you for 50 Norwegian kroner. When will we get an updated blind test with you and Stinger Swarm regarding the packet rates? You guys should redo it with the quad out of hearing reach. Ooh. I mean, I don't know when the next time I'm going to see Stingy is. Yeah. I don't know. Coelho FPV, thanks for a $5. You know, here's Keikamanx. Here's how I would change that test if I were to change it again. It was only after doing the test that I checked the latency and found that the difference in latency between Ghost 50 and 500 hertz is like the difference between 10 and 2 milliseconds. So the difference is only 8 milliseconds, which is, I submit, I would believe that that is below the detectable threshold. And the difference is, it's all below 10 milliseconds anyway, which I think is potentially within the detectable threshold. So I actually would like to find a way to make a bigger difference. And I don't know what that would be because, like, nothing else is a consistent latency. So I'm not sure. Coelho FPV, thanks for a $5 super chat. Is there any way to determine if my Betaflight firmware is RC2 or RC3 by looking in the CLI or anywhere else? Yes, there is. Great question, Coelho. I'm going to answer it for you. Coelho, what you need to do is connect to your flight controller, and when you connect, here in the upper left, you will see... No. Here we go. That's what I'm looking for. Configurator 1080. Oh, that's the configurator, though. Okay, hang on. Version. Come on, baby. Give it to me. Here we go. Betaflight STM32F7X2, 4211, November 9th, 2021, and then this build number. That's what you need. Now, this is Betaflight 4.2, so don't freak out. But What you're going to do then is you're going to go to the releases page, and you're going to look right here. Do you see this number? 3267F04, February 1, 2022. You're going to compare that to this number, November 9th, 2021, 948BA6339. This is the build number, if I understand correctly. I believe I do. And this is the build date. So you're going to compare that to this number, 3276504, and this date. And that should tell you whether it's RC3 or RC2, I believe. Any GitHub experts in the chat want to tell me if I'm wrong about that, but I believe that's correct. Thank you, Corlia, for a donation. B-Man FPV, thanks for a $5 super chat. During my flight, my quad will jolt or spaz for a half a second and then be fine. Well, I was thinking a desync. No. I mean, I can't be sure, but number one, a desync during just normal flight is extremely unlikely. A desync is most likely to happen on sharp stick movements like snap rolls or flips. And a desync typically results in a death roll, where you just roll into the ground. Theoretically, a desync could result in a strong arm dip and recovery. But usually, if you're flying and your quad goes, especially on the yaw axis, it's a gyro problem. That's what I would say. Theoretically, it could be your gimbals and your controller. If that was the case, then you could run it. You would see it on multiple quads. But I don't think it's a desync. That would be like my last guess. Rockman, thank you for a $2 Canadian. Left a question in the Discord because it's too long to type. Okay, well, you're a patron, so you're good to go. Actually, everybody's good to go. Who was it? Oh, B-Man FPV says it was sporadic. Rockman, let's see. Here you go. I got an analog Diatone Roma V2 last year. Took it out for a flight, and I accidentally hit the GPS rescue switch, and it fell upside down. Ever since then, the video has been terrible, even after a new antenna. What should I check? I mean, since it started after a crash, I think we have to guess that it was physical damage to the quad, and not like your VTX table is messed up. I probably would replace the video transmitter. You could also theoretically replace the pigtail cable. But yeah, it's the antenna is, I think, the least likely thing to be broken. Slid BFPV wants to know what causes a desync on a roll or flip. It's not the receiver. A desync is 100% between the ESC and the motor. A desync happens when the ESC loses track of the position of the motor bell and therefore cannot correctly time the commutation of the motor, which then causes it to either commutate at the wrong time and stall the motor, or just go like, I don't know what to do, and stop commutating. The reason it happens on a roll or a flip is because it is most likely to happen when the motor accelerates rapidly. Soon the Unibell. Soon the Unibell. It's exciting. I was more excited about these motors when they thought they weighed 36 grams. Oh, wait, that's a 23, not a 25. Oh, I see. Well, it's still a Unibell. Yeah, FPV cycled Unibells are coming. According to Rugi, the reason that some, coincidence, not, The reason that some of his FPV cycle motors are dropping their sides is because the manufacturer used the wrong bottle of apologize. The wrong bottle of Loctite or whatever, of adhesive, to lock them in. And Bob says he's replaced every single one that slipped, and I believe him, but when it slips and your quad crashes and you lose your quad or you lose your ESC, the motor manufacturer isn't going to replace that for you. I guess I see why. So the fact that they know that the motor was defective is it's kind of embarrassing. That's embarrassing. What are you going to do? What BL heli setting do you change for desyncs? Asks Aqualine FPV. The number one thing you can change is the DMAG protection. Change it from medium to high. Crunk loves RC and Power motors. Crunk, doesn't RC and Power make the FPV cycle motors? Correct me if I'm wrong. Or is that, I don't know that for sure, but I think that. I'm pretty sure RC and Power is the OEM for those motors. In which case, I agree with you. Decodester, thanks for a $5 super chat. Jacobs Parts, 60 watt, DC to USB-C. Oh, this is that USB-C PD adapter I was looking for my DC to USB PD. That does seem right. You just need to put an XT60 on it. What's the input voltage? 60 watt fast charger. Input 6 to 35 volts DC. Output USB-C or USB-A. Oh. Outputs 20 volts DC. Adjust automatically according to fast charge protocol. How much is this? $8. There you go. So this is what I was going to use to power the pine sill soldering iron off of USB. I could not find this anywhere. Interesting. What does a solid red light mean? Asks Jameson Hinton on a TBS Crossfire Nano RX. It means that it's not bound and it's not in binding mode, but the firmware is not messed up either. Thank you so much for that, Decodester. Miguel T, thanks for a $5 super chat. Quad was flying great, no hardware or Betaflight changes. Now the throttle feels stuck at low throttle despite full down stick deflection, remote calibrated. It feels stuck at low throttle. What does it mean? I'm sorry, Miguel, that's not enough information. Is it like you can't raise the throttle? The first thing I would check is in the receiver tab. So in the Betaflight receiver tab, does the throttle go 1,000 to 2,000? Like, that's the first thing to check. And if so, then the gimbal is working correctly. Riet9, thank you for 420 Australian. Thanks for all you do. Kiss content excluded. Riet throwing barbs at Crunked in the chat. Keep it friendly, folks. Gregory Carr, thanks for a $5 super chat. Can TBS Tango V1 run Express LRS? No. Nope. Without loading the Lua script. Okay, back up. The TBS Tango V1 can output Crossfire. So it can work with an Express LRS module. You would need a way to configure the module, so you would want a module that has a menu, a built-in joystick and menu. But yeah, I guess it could work. How about that? Raven187, thanks for $2 Australian. Can't wait for the new Umagod Bot Grinder frame. Is Umagod and Bot Grinder doing a frame together? That's cute. JT Kirk 86, thanks for $5 in the super chat. I have an odd sound question in the Discord. It happens during flight. I have an audio clip. Mind giving an opinion? Okay, but I'm going to listen to it privately before I play it on stream in case it's like a Rickroll. Okay, it's not a Rickroll. Let's listen to this weird scratching sound. Let's see if we can identify it. That scratching sound is nothing that your quad is doing. It is the membrane of your microphone on your HD camera resonating and vibrating or distorting. That's my money. That's my money. It is nothing that your quad is doing. It's your microphone on your camera. That's what I'm going with. I mean, now you could tell me, oh, but I hear it on several different cameras. Or I hear it line of sight in my ears. But that's my first guess. Something's touching your microphone on your camera. DC suggests putting a piece of tape over the HD cam mic openings. And he'll see it with a piece of tape over there. Hey, Phantom FPV. Good to see you, man. I am well. Thank you so much. Hope you're doing well also. Elijah Butler wants to know if DJI can feed audio through the goggles. Yes, no. No, not unless you're using the DJI FPV drone, in which case, yes. So the technical capacity to do it is there, but if you're using the Air unit or the Vista, no, it can't do it. Damn it, JT Kirk says he can hear the sound in person too. Man. Well, then your prop is like hitting something, or there's something is vibrating or resonating, but there's no way to track it down except to just like go over the quad with a fine-tooth comb and try to find what the thing is. Lodo Films, thanks for a $5 super chat. My motors are not overheating, but the drone falls out of the sky mid-flight with full ESC restart. Any ideas on why? If you have a full ESC restart, in other words, you hear doo-doo-doo, that means the ESC lost power and fully reset. The first thing I would check is if your XT60 cable is loose, like if it's just super easy to unplug your XT60 with no pressure at all. It could just be loose, and I've had that happen. You can take a little Phillips head screwdriver and spread the prongs of the XT60 on the quad to make them tighter, and they'll hold tighter. If it's not your XT60 being loose or a broken power cable, then chances are good that the ESC is damaged. Internally, the ESC is cracked or something, and it's losing power. Peter Laurie, thanks for $2.79 Canadian. Boom, we're caught up on Super Chats. Quad Doc wants to know, have you ever seen the DJI goggles go to black screen when another pilot comes in and disarms? Happened to someone else 10 seconds after I disarmed on 2 occasions. Quad Doc, if you are flying next to anyone else with the DJI goggles, you can knock them out of the air. You can't put your quad or your goggles anywhere near another pilot who is flying, DJI or analog, or you'll interfere with them. Oh, no. Oh, Virgin FPV. Virgin FPV, can you please? He's not wrong. He says Chinese companies are just selling the same product and people are like, wow, this new motor is crazy. It has a sticker on it. I mean, I just saw that one comment. He's not wrong. But seriously, Virgin FPV, you're pissing off everyone in the chat. That's the bottom line. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. This is about me. This stream is about me. If you making drama in the chat are making people think more about you than about me, you're out of here. I'm just joking, probably. Sunshine, thank you for a $5 super chat. Put your rates, ghost presets via Betaflight 4.3 stock PIDs. How close to your tune am I, or do I need to tweak the PIDs? What's your quad, man? Sunshine, you can't know anything about PID tunes without your quad. Without your quad, actually, without knowing about your build. Kickflip wants to know if I still think the Foxeer Box 2 is a solid GoPro session replacement. Kickflip, today, if I was looking for a session replacement, I would go with the Runcam Orange. It has decent image quality and can be used with gyroflow, which is really nice and is super inexpensive. Interesting. Remy Tim says, I hate idiot noobs in this hobby. They are the cockiest people in the world. You know, it's funny. It's funny to see that, going back to the conflict between Bob Ruge and Chris Rosser, if you go back far enough, I don't know how many years, Bob Ruge was a cocky SOB who thought he knew exactly how it was and told everybody exactly how it was. And said, this is the best. And Bob has had his ass kicked by reality enough times that he has tempered and cooled down a little bit. And now Bob will, tell you what he thinks is the best and why. But he is a little bit more of a humble person than he was when he first got into the hobby. And it's funny to see Chris Rosser come into the FPV hobby and and say, this is how it is. And here's the data. And for Bob Ruge to be like, well, it's funny because if you go back and Bob will tell you this. I'm not this is not an observation of mine. Bob will say, I used to be a lot more confident several years ago before I realized what I don't know. Yeah. So for Bob to then be saying to Chris, you need to cool it down a little bit, man. There's more to this than you think. It's kind of funny because, 5 years ago, Bob would have been the one saying, this is how it is. The risk of being a smart person. And you see this in the crypto community. Ooh, did he go there? The risk of being a smart person is that when you're extremely smart in one way, you can miss the ways in which you're not smart, especially when dealing with a new domain. And you see this with crypto people who know about computers and maybe know about finance and banking, but don't know the first thing about macroeconomics and basic human psychology. And they think that because they are smart enough to design a computer system, or because they're an expert at whatever they invented that made them successful in Silicon Valley, that they also are qualified to design a political system or a social system. And it isn't true. And this is a little bit tangential to Chris, because the things that Chris is talking about are, in fact, in his wheelhouse. Unlike somebody who's a dentist coming along and saying, I know about motors. But Chris designs jet engines. He is not an expert quadcopter pilot, nor is he an expert at designing quadcopter motors. And he would say, I think, that he is qualified to make the observations that he's making, and it's true. But I suspect that there are things that people like Alex Vanover, Min-Chan Kim, or Evan Turner could say about quads that are contrary to the things that Chris Russer would derive from his, or maybe not. I don't know. None of this should be taken as, I'm glad Chris is here and I'm glad he's doing what he's doing, because I firmly believe that more data is better than less. And quite a lot of what we do in FPV is not based on any data at all. It's just based on what sells and what seems good, but mostly what sells. So I'm glad Chris is here. But I do think that the belief that the things he's saying are the be-all, end-all of motor and frame design is a little bit premature. Anyway. Leo Ponce wants to know, is locking crossfire at 50 or 150 better than dynamic? Yeah, the reason, Leo, that they want you to do that in Betaflight 4.3 is that Betaflight 4.3 is tuning things like the feed forward and the RC smoothing parameters, is tuning them based on the packet rate. And if the packet rate changes, then the settings are not right. So it's better to just pick one and tune to that one, is Betaflight's argument. Right. Danzilla the Terrible, I completely agree with you. Anybody who is framing this as Chris versus Bob is missing the point. They both have a lot to offer. And if they disagree, that's an interesting area for further exploration. The problem is people who watch a YouTube video and go, aha, finally, I found the truth. Instead of, here are two really smart guys who are giving me different perspectives on this situation. Okay. Scott Pichelle, thanks for 9 New Zealand dollars. Love what you do for us. I have a JBF4 flight controller. What would be the latest version of Betaflight I could run on it? You can run 4.3 on a... You may have to go down to 4K PID loop, but you can run 4.3. Excuse me. Huff19, thank you for a $5 super chat. Do you think that using FPV Cycle Imperial V2 bells on V1 stators will work? I think so, Huff, but you should ask Bob Ruge. Lodo Films, thanks for a $5 super chat. I replaced the ESC once already. The first one's faulty. Is this one bad too, or is something shorting it out? There's a lot hooked up to it. It's hard. I mean, Lodo Films, thank you for your donation. It's very hard to say. Very hard to say. Is this one bad too? There's not enough context here, I'm afraid, to answer your question, man. Is your motor not spinning? Garter Rotor says, well, we have a Wi-Fi engineer, that's me, a dentist, and a guy that builds jet engines. I'll take it. Yeah. I mean, between me, Bob Ruge, and Chris Rosser is the one who is most qualified to design quadcopters. Between me, Bob Ruge, and Chris Rosser, Bob Ruge is the one who has the most flight hours by a large margin. And especially if you take into account, like, how many flight hours do I have on anything other than a 2207 or a 2306 5-inch? Right? I mean, between me, Bob Ruge, and Chris Rosser, I'm trying to think of where I excel. I guess I would say explaining complicated things in a simple way, but Chris is actually pretty good at that too. I put out more videos than any of them. Take that. Sunshine FPV. Thank you for another $5. It's a 5-inch X frame with 2206 2450 kV motors, gem fan 5140 props, naked Vista, 40 amp ESC. Let's go back to Sunshine. Sunshine, I see. So Sunshine, you definitely... So my frame, my build was based on 5047 props. You're using 5140, which is a larger, lower pitch prop by far. And my frame had 6S, 1850 kV, 2506 motors. You have much smaller motors, 2206, and you're on 4S at 2450 kV. So you are at a different size motor, a different battery voltage, a different kV, and a fundamentally different prop. Never mind that I don't know the weight of your build. You absolutely cannot copy my PIDs in any way, shape, or form. The single biggest thing that is different between yours and mine is that yours motors are 2206 and mine are 2506. I have much bigger motors than you, and my PIDs are going to be completely different. So that's the answer to your question. Big Beano 96, thanks for a $5 super chat. I was driving and I'm just listening in. Can I donate to this to make fun of people, but not any specific people, because that would be bullying? I can't stop you. Alejandro Gallo, thank you for a $10 super chat. Just want to say thank you for all your videos. Being able to watch your videos at any given time is priceless. I appreciate your donation, and I'm glad that you're watching. Loto Films. Oh, thanks, Loto Films. Sorry, man. I didn't put the connection together. I appreciate another $5 super chat. Loto Films says his motors are not overheating, but the drone falls out of the fly with a full ESC reset. He already replaced the ESC once already because the first one was faulty. Like, something could be shorting it out. I can't rule that out. If it was touching the frame in a certain way as to cause it to short out, like, I would want to make sure it was absolutely clear of anything that might be shorting it out. I do agree that the chances of having two bad ones in a row, it's pretty suspicious. So much for my seltzer. We are caught up on super chats. Amazing. Let's get some questions from the regular chat. ISDT P10 or Toolkit RC M6D for a dual channel charger? Asks Skytex. Skytex, I would take any ISDT charger over any Toolkit RC charger any day of the week. I know this is I know that every time I say this, people who have had great experiences with Toolkit RC come out of the woodwork. But I personally have had I'm not going to say every single one. I have had several Toolkit RC chargers that they sent me for review, and several of them have died on me. Just randomly. I have heard a lot of messages from people who have had Toolkit RC chargers die on them. After I review them, they come in the YouTube comments section and say, oh, I can't believe I bought this thing. It's such a piece of trash. Cyclone FPV did that post, that live stream a while back, where I think 10 out of 10, I don't remember the number, but 100% of the chargers that they received from Toolkit RC were defective in some way. To be fair, Toolkit RC sent them another batch and they were all fine, but thanks. That's why were the first 10 bad. And after the Cyclone FPV thing happened, I said, I'm not going to recommend Toolkit RC anymore, and I'm not going to review any of their chargers. I don't know what's going on over there, but it's been going on for a long time, and it hasn't changed, and I'm just not doing it. And Toolkit RC said, basically didn't like that, and they said, well, we don't think, we don't think you should do that. And I said, well, But they had sent me a Toolkit RC, I think it was an M8D, if my memory's correct. They had sent me one to review, and I hadn't reviewed it because of this whole thing. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to give them a fair shake. I started using the Toolkit RC M8D on a trip. That trip I took to go visit Stingy. It was a 2-week trip, and I brought it with me, and I used it as my charger on that trip, and it died. One of the channels, cell number 4, started reading 0.1 volts higher than the other cells. And when you unplug the battery, it would just read 0.1 volts instead of 0 volts. After no particular abuse. So, I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on over at Toolkit RC. But I don't in any way recommend their chargers. In fact, I opposite of recommend them. Because of these things. Because here's the thing. When you get a flight controller, like I'll pick on myself. There was a run of the JBF4 flight controller that had a bad 9-volt regulator, and it would brown out and die. And we replaced as many of them as we could and tried to make it right. But it was just a manufacturing F-up, and there's no excuse for it, and you could just try and fix it. And we did. In fact, we ended up going to a completely different manufacturer when we switched from the JBF4 to the JBF7. And one of the reasons was that the inconsistent quality. We didn't like the fact that there were other reasons. And the quality on the JBF7 has been great. So anybody can make a mistake. But there have been so many mistakes in a row, in my opinion, with the Toolkit RC chargers, that it doesn't seem like one bad batch. It seems like a consistent low standard of quality coming out of that factory. And when a LiPo charger screws up, your house burns down. When a flight controller screws up, you crash your quad. Ouch. And there are any number of rock-solid chargers from ISDT or Hoda/HobbyMate or any other number of manufacturers that are rock-solid. So you don't need to compromise. You don't need to accept the additional risk of a Toolkit RC when there's perfectly good chargers available. And you know what? You guys in the comments who are saying, I've got a Toolkit RC charger, it's fine. Good. Good. You are, they don't have 100% failure rate. I don't know what their failure rate is, but it's too high and I don't like it. That's my opinion. Bee's Knees, thank you for 3 Super Chat dollars. Appreciate that. And Doug McLeod, thank you for 5 Canadian dollars. After watching Chris Rosser's videos, I find myself pronouncing Betaflight like a British chap. How do you avoid this? I'm just too American. I'm too American for that. Betaflight. Solder. Nah, I can't do it. Z. HDOs. I don't know about that. Venom quad charger for the win. I don't like the old 4-button style interface, and I think the Venoms still have that. I'm going to sneeze again. Hold on. Can you suggest a non-Toolkit RC charger that supports discharging to input and power supply mode? Discharging to input? No. The D6 Duo can discharge. Doesn't support regenerative discharge. No. People are saying I should play Phantom FPV's dive from his recent video. Should we watch that? Phantom FPV do something amazing again. Phantom, you always raising the bar, man. But some people would say you're making the rest of us look bad. I don't know. You know, it's a coin toss. Just depends on how you feel. Keep making us look bad, man. Do we have audio? Hang on, I need to unmute the audio. We gotta hear his motors. Why do I not have audio? There we go. Apparently Oh, shut the flip up. Look at him with his DJI action. That's the secret to his success. That light action cam. Listen to that. What are you listening to? You did not strike me as... I guess people can listen to whatever they want. Am I gonna get a copyright strike now? Hybrid grip, baby. Look at them slow rates. What's your rates, Phantom? You still at 1300? No expo? Tell the chat what your rates are. Tell the chat what your rates are. Okay. All right. Got a little warm up here. 1,000, 1,000, no expo. When y'all watch Phantom doing what he does, bear in mind he's at 1,000 degrees per second, no expo. And I've tried to convince him that he'd fly better with expo, but he just keeps flying so good, I can't really make a point out of it. That was nice. That was clean. I see you trying to be like Mr. Steele. Is that it? Oh, I like that. Now here's the thing. Hang on, we'll get there. We'll get there. We'll take our time. We'll work up to it. Oh, interesting. Phantom, do you have super rate? Do you have any curve in there? No expo at all? No curve? Or is it straight linear? So check this out. He pops back up over here. Now, did he overshoot? My read on this is that he overshot here. But that's okay. Because the essence is, look how you make it work. Boop, pop. Little overshoot there on that, but that's okay. We're going to make it look good. Now, what he likes to do is throw in these rolls just to make life more difficult. Okay. Zero curve, straight linear. God damn. Get out of there. Because he'll pull this move. He'll pull this move that blows your mind, and then he'll be like, you know what, I think I'm going to throw a 360 roll in there. Just in the middle. He says he didn't overshoot that. You weren't trying to line that up and you overshot? You did that on purpose? I believe you if that's what you say. Phantom's like, I don't overshoot, you son of a bitch. I shoot exactly where I said I was gonna. he's getting ready. What is this video? Okay. Like, we all know what's gonna happen, right? I see what you were setting up. I just looked to me like you missed the edge. I don't know. I see what you're setting up. I mean, I see what you're setting up. Wait a minute. What antenna is that? Is that a 2.4 gigahertz antenna? Are you using Ghost here? God damn! Did you send that to Steele yet, Phantom? Did you send that to Steele? Has he seen it? Let's watch it again, just for fun. Schwip! Damn. Damn. Well. Doesn't get better than that. That's very cool. You got to send that to Steele. RGMG says, how many years to get this good? How long you been flying, Phantom? You're going to be disappointed when he tells you the answer. 2014. Oh, that's actually longer than I thought. That's longer than I thought. That's longer than me. Paulo Cabral, thank you for a $5 super chat. Just a thank you for creating all this content. Appreciate that, man. I still don't know how you do that on linear rates. Honestly, don't. Don't do it, Bad for Life. Don't start flying linear rates. He's not normal. Don't do it. Don't do it. He's not normal. Oh. People are saying we got to watch Bubbies. All right. Let's take a look at Bubbies. The ultimate power loop dive challenge. We don't need to watch the whole thing, and we definitely don't need to play any music. Yeah, okay, set up, talking about it. Uh-huh. Getting it ready. Look how different this quad flies than Phantoms. Like, look how heavy it is. It just feels heavy, doesn't it? Am I crazy? It just feels heavy. That's not really I'm not like trying to shit talk it. You come from the way Phantom's quad flies, and it's so snappy. Where's the money shot? Uh-huh. Is this it? Looks like this is, woo-hoo-hoo! Back down through! Oh, very nice. Oh, that was very nice. That was Drew's, huh? Oh, that's Drew? Drew's better than I thought. No, I'm teasing. How he makes something simple look so cool. I would look at this spot and go, there's nothing here. There's nothing here to fly. It's just lame. It's just a lame spot. And Drew just makes it beautiful. Where's that stupid you trippy spin, little punk. Here's Bubby again. Is this going to be it? Oh my God. Did they really? Okay. Did I miss it? Oh, I missed it. Where is it? At the beginning. You wouldn't put the awesome dive gap right at the beginning. Zoop. Oh, man. How do you not crash into the tables? Very good. Very good. Was he going to do it again? Zoop. Nope, I see. I just missed it. Very nice. Oh. Is that what we're doing now? We're just going to watch other people's shit? Okay. John Young III says, I have an Alien Whoop Zero and I want to connect it to a TX16S. How do I do that? What receiver's in it? That's the first thing we got to figure out. Alien Whoop Zero. What receiver is in it? Does it have a built-in receiver? It doesn't appear to have a built-in receiver. DSMX Autobind, blah, 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 blah. I missed the dive everyone was talking about. Oh, well. I'm moving on. It doesn't have a receiver built in. So it would depend on what receiver is installed in it, man. There's no way to answer that question without knowing what receiver's in it. Brad Henderson, thanks for a $5 super chat. I've heard about a few updates for the DJI Action 2 that make it better for FPV. I've been debating on picking it up. Any thoughts? Brad, if you're trying to put that on a 280-gram Cinewhoop, that is going to be a point in the Action 2's favor because the Action 2 is significantly lighter than a GoPro, but more durable and easier to live with than a naked GoPro. A 280-gram Cinewhoop makes me wonder what prop size that is. Is that the dry weight without the battery? Because if that is the all-up weight, then it's got to be like a 2.5 inch, at which point I don't think you can use any full-size action cam and get any good flight characteristics. If it's 280 grams with the battery, then you have to be using like a naked GoPro or an Insta360 Go or something like that. The Action 2, I mean, Phantom uses it and Stingy uses it, I learned. So to me, that means that it's at least viable, right? Bubby's dive is at 7:15. All right. Thank you. If you're going to give me an actual timestamp to the exact time when the dive happens, we'll watch it. Oh, I've been on the wrong screen this whole time also. Whoops. 7:15 for Bubby's dive. Here we go. Swoop. Oh yeah, that's coming from the moon. Yeah, he hit it. Drew's pretty happy about it. I was more impressed with the one where he went in, came out backwards. The thing is, lots of people could hit that. But to not crash coming out of it. See, like, look at all the time you've got to line it up. Lots of people could hit that. I mean, it's a tiny, don't get me wrong. It's a tiny gap. But to not just crash immediately coming out of it, that's what's impressive. All right, great. Now we've seen it. First try, too. Bee's Knees, thanks for another $1 super chat. What receiver should I put in the Alien Whoop? Affordable and easy to connect to my radio. John Young, I would say Express LRS, the EP2 receivers with the ceramic antenna are perfect for tiny whoops, but you would need a module, so that would not sure that would fit the easy to connect to my radio requirement. Spencer Walsh says, I'm thinking about getting a Hero 8 at Best Buy. Can you still buy Hero 8s at Best Buy? Wow. How much do you have to pay for each replacement? Spencer, if it is covered under GoPro's warranty, you don't pay anything for the replacement. If it is covered under Best Buy's insurance, then you don't pay anything for the replacement. But if you want a new policy on your new camera, you buy the policy. So it costs you whatever it costs you to rebuy the policy. The policy is only good for one replacement. So in my experience, that's been between $40 and $60. What is the best action cam for a Cinelog 2.5? Asks Demenis. Demenis, Ciati, you're here. Tell me if I'm wrong. Demenis wants to know the best action cam for a Cinelog 2.5. I don't think a 2.5-inch can carry any full-size action camera with any flight. I mean, it'll probably fly, but it wouldn't be worth a damn. So I think you have to have like a naked GoPro, an Insta360 Go, one of those cameras in the range of about 20 grams in order to make it work. Ciati, you think a DJI Action 2 would work on a Cinelog 2.5? I mean, if Ciati, that's why I asked. If Ciati says it, then I believe him. I'm surprised to hear that, though. Beesneys is trying to leave a super chat. Beesneys, the reason it won't let you type a message is because you're only putting $1 in as your super chat. The amount of text they let you type goes up as you leave more money. So like for $2, you get 50 characters. My guess is that for $1, you don't get any characters. At this point, you've left like 5 different $1 super chats. Leave a single $5 super chat and type your message. That's what I would say. Lotofilms wants to know if the weight of the quad could be responsible for the ESC shutting down. Lotofilms, I don't think so. If the ESC was overheating because it was overworked, I guess in theory it could cause it to reboot. That would surprise me, though, unless your amp rating was just really low. That would surprise me. Yeah, take a look, guys. People don't know this. If you look right here, guys. I'm leaving myself a super chat. Do you see that for $1, I have 0 characters? Look up here. For $2, I have 50 characters. For $5, I have 150 characters. For $10, I have 200 characters. The higher your super chat, the longer your message can be. So, Bee's Knees, the reason you can't leave a message is because you're only leaving $1 super chats, which have a 0 character limit. Ciati has walked back his claim and says that he thinks the Cinelog 2.5 would be really loaded down with the Action 2. Okay, Ciati agrees with me. That's all I needed. DC, if the low voltage cutoff was causing the ESC to shut down, it would not reboot. It would not go doo-doo-doot. It would just stop working. That's what I would say. BC Drones, thank you for a $5 super chat. Giannis Esterhuizen wants to know, I have a DJI FPV question. Can you use the same goggles from the FPV drone as for the other DJI VTXs? Yes, the DJI FPV drone uses the DJI FPV goggles V2, and they work with the DJI Air Unit and Vista VTX. Skytex wants to know, what is your overall opinion of the RunCam Thumb versus other options like the Insta360 and the Peanut in that form factor? Skytex, the number one thing the Thumb has going for it is that it is $50. At that point, you're willing to forgive a lot of, and it works with Gyroflow. At that point, you're willing to forgive a lot of other sins because of the extremely low price. I think the Insta360 Go is a better camera, but it costs like, what is it, $200 or $300. Afix, the camera for my stream is a Lumix G85. However, there's been a lot of work put into making it look as good as possible. But it's a Lumix G85. I mean, I guess that's true of any camera. To get great results out of it, you're going to put a lot of work into it. Like, for example, there's a... Can I do that? I don't think I can do that. Can I do that? Yeah, there's a LUT. So that's the LUT that's on the camera. This is what's actually coming out of the camera. And this is also tweaked. I've got like contrast and sharpness and all tweaked in the camera. But this is what's coming out of the camera. And then I've got a LUT and a sharpening filter in OBS. But it's a Lumix G85. Ooh. JT Kirk has figured out what was making that noise on his props. After close inspection, it looks like the prop was hitting the GoPro screw. I mean, there you go. Glad we could help you solve it. Andrew Nelson, thanks for a $5 super chat. The Cinerace 20 bind and fly. The DJI feed freezes up on a light bump on the ground and takes a few seconds to come back. Anytime you've got your DJI feed freezing up, the most likely cause is that the voltage regulator that powers the air unit or Vista is browning out because it's badly designed. The reason it does it when you tap the ground is that the motors surge, and that causes a drop in voltage, which causes the voltage regulator to brown out. The fix, if you've got a Vista, is to move from the regulator to VBAT power, move the power wire over to the ESC. If you have an air unit, the air unit only takes up to 4S voltage, at least according to the official specs. So you can only do that on the air unit if you are running 4S or lower. One person I know opened up the air unit and swears that the voltage regulators in the air unit are rated to 6S voltage. And he's like, I don't know why DJI says you can only do this on 17 volts. But that's not enough for me to tell people to run their air units on 6S, because DJI probably didn't do that for no reason at all. Virgin FPV. You got to stop this bullshit. You got to stop this bullshit, man. Stop it. Now you're just... No, I don't even know what's happening right now. Why are people talking about rabbits in the chat? What have I missed? Overbeast, thanks you for a $2 super chat. Rabbits are... I'm ambivalent about rabbits. So Andrew Nelson, find a new power source for your air unit or Vista. Either move it to VBAT on the ESC if it can take that voltage, or get a new voltage regulator, like a 3 amp 9 volts or something. Wes Magyar says, my quad came with the flight system and the DJI cam. Is it possible to change the cam to a polar? Yes, you can. You can swap the camera on the DJI with any other DJI compatible camera. What's the ideal amps for an ESC for a Vanover 2207 2021 kV motors? Asks Stupidaz. Cute name, Stupidaz. Cute name. As much as possible. So the minimum I would run would be something like 45 amps. but a 55 or 65 amp would probably be more durable. Here's the thing. Those motors are not going to pull more than 45 amps apiece under most circumstances, but more will make a more durable ESC. Danish and others are pointing out, Wes Magyar, that the Polar is in many ways a worse camera than the original DJI Cam. I assume, Wes, that the reason you want to switch to the Polar is because you're going to be flying in low light, and the Polar excels at low light. But other than that, I would stick with the original DJI camera, which is superior. Gubbins. We spent like the first 45 minutes of the stream talking about Chris Rosser's 5-inch video, so scroll back if you want to see that, but I think we're done for that for now. Jeffrey Rodriguez asks, USB is not working properly on the flight controller. All drivers are updated, might have been damaged. Is an FTDI adapter the best option for recovery? Jeffrey Rodriguez, the FTDI adapter would only work if you had already turned on MSP on some other UART. So let's take a look here. There is a potential workaround for you if you break your USB. So here in the Betaflight configurator, in the ports tab, notice that MSP is enabled for the USB port. So if you, for example, if you have a quad with DJI and you have MSP enabled on UART 4, then you could disconnect the air unit, wire up an FTDI adapter to UART 4, and then you could connect and configure your flight controller using that UART and that FTDI adapter. But many people will not have MSP enabled on any other port, at which point it doesn't matter what you do with an FTDI adapter because Betaflight needs MSP enabled to talk to the configurator. Now there is a workaround, and the workaround is here in the firmware flasher tab. And what you can do is you can enable show unstable releases and expert mode. And here is USB rescue. And USB rescue is going to have MSP enabled. I think it's on UART 1. I'm not sure. Let's flash it and find out. Does it say? Well, I guess we're going to find out. And since that has MSP enabled on a given UART, you can connect a FTDI adapter to that UART and configure. The other question would be how to flash. And there's a way to put it into DFU mode on a UART, but I'm not clear. I'm not sure I could tell you exactly how to do that. So let's just double check here. So yeah, so looks like it's on UART 4. Interesting. How about that? Does that reset the configuration? Yeah, it has. So I guess it's on UART 4. Strange. Weird coincidence, but there you go. Thank you, RGMG, for a $5 super chat. Just a quick thank you for everything you do to support the FPV in the community. Appreciate your donation. Vinny Shipman says, I installed my throttle and roll pitch backwards on my AGO1s. Is there any real difference, or can I adjust them with the screws? Vinny, I'm not sure how you installed them backwards because they have the... I don't think they're symmetrical. I'm vaguely recall from when I installed the AG01 gimbals that they're not symmetrical. Like the screw pattern is not symmetrical. So I'm not sure how you installed them backwards or what you mean by I installed them backwards. One is upside down. No, you got to take them out and turn them around and do it right, man. You got to do it right. Wait. Are they exactly like the old ones were? Huh. I don't think you can install them the wrong way. So I think they're fine. I suspect that what's happening is that the spring centering and tension of the throttle, yeah, you can just use the screws to fix that. If the throttle's on the left and you want it on the right, just use the tensioning screws and so forth to fix that. That's exactly right. All right, we're 15 minutes to the end of the stream. Still got time for some questions, though. Andres Shapiro wants to know, when will we see a Mavic drone with a true 1-hour flight time? I don't know, man. Whenever DJI decides to do it, I guess. I mean, it's not like it's rocket science to make a drone fly for a long time. Just a question of when they decide to do it. A to P says, I'm new to the community and it's really hard to hover the drone in freestyle mode. How can I improve it? Stick time, man. It's hard. It's hard to hover. It's harder to hover than it is to fly in acro mode. Get in the simulator and practice. That's all I can say. To be able to fly takes between 10 and 40 hours of stick time, in my opinion. Depends. Like I've seen people who have a lot of like video game experience, or maybe they've flown other RC aircraft. I've seen them pick up quadcopter in like a couple hours. It's extremely rare. For a typical person, I would say to be able to sort of fly around without crashing into things, between 10 and 40 hours. So just keep trying. And it's best to do it in the simulator where the crashes don't hurt. BC Drones, thank you for a $10 super chat. I'm having an issue with the Tango 2, and Betaflight, all switches and modes are correct. When I go to fly, the aux switches are incorrect. BC Drones, what's incorrect about the aux switches when you go to fly? Tell me more. I guess is what I would ask. Wes Magyar wants to know, should he get the Roma F5 or the Nazgul Evoque 5? Wes, that's a tough one. The Nazgul Evoque flies extremely well and is a very well-designed quad. However, the Nazgul Evoque does have 20mm electronics, whereas the Roma F5 has 30mm electronics, and it makes me think that the ESC on the Roma has to be more durable. The Roma also is very, very good. The other thing about the Roma is that it doesn't have those side plates. And if you like the side plates on the Evoque because they look cool, and they do look cool, more power to you. But they also add complexity and make it harder to work on. And on some level, I would lean toward the Roma because it's a more traditional build. But the Nazgul Evoque flies really well. So I don't think you go wrong either way. BC Drones, I'm still looking for your reply about your aux switches. Dragonwing FPV says, is there any point in upgrading Crossfire from 4.11 to 6.x if there are no compatibility issues with receivers? I would have to look at the release notes, Dragonwing. I would bet you somewhere between 4.11 and 6.x there were some bug fixes that might be relevant. But if you're happy, more power to you. BC Drones, I don't see any way that the aux switches could reverse when you unplug from the configurator. It has to be that they're not set up the way that you think. The only other thing I can think of is that you're loading a different model. Or, like, maybe you set the mixer up such that when you arm, the mixer changes. It seems unlikely. But the receiver will work the same whether you're plugged into Betaflight or not. So my gut feeling is that it's not actually set up right. And it's just confusing you when you go to fly it. Wes, both the Roma F5 and the Nazgul Evoke are pretty durable. The only thing about the Nazgul that makes me hesitate is that it does have a 20mm ESC. Now, mine has been fine, and I haven't been like gentle with it. So they also use that same ESC on the 6-inch with the 2506 motors, which is incredibly ballsy move. So maybe iFlight's ESC is fine, and I'm just being silly. Oh no, my light turned off 10 minutes into the end of the stream. Now my room doesn't look like a cool purple streamer room. Graydon Vincent wants to know, why does my Nazgul V5 throttle delay, and after around 10 seconds of flying, my motors are burning hot? The number one thing that causes that is that your motor screws are too long and they're touching the windings or the wires of the motor. Now, I don't know if that's happening on yours, but if it's a bind and fly, then that's surely not happening. Thank you, Dragonwin FPV, for 10 Norwegian kroner. Mount Flavors. Do not just cut and solder between two incompatible ESC and flight controllers. You got to look at the pinout for the flight controller and the pinout for the ESC, and then figure out which wire goes where and which wires you don't need to use. Mike Bergman, if the Redux Air 50 amp is good enough for racers, it's probably good enough for freestylers. Nevertheless, I can't help but think that a 20mm ESC is going to be less durable than a 30mm, but the Redux Air does use the larger FETs. It hangs out over the 20mm form factor, and on top of that, it's just a very, very well designed ESC. So Squirrely, thank you for a $5 super chat. I have a tiny whoop that shuts down midair for an instant before coming back online. What do you think could cause that? The first thing I would wonder is, do you hear the motors restart? Doot, doot, doot. And do you see the logo in the flight controller indicating that the ESC power cycled? That would indicate a total loss of power, which would make me think the battery or the battery lead was the problem. Wes Magyar, the other 5-inch I would look at is the GEP-RC Mark V, which is pretty decent. I've started working on it in preparation for a review. Rain or Shine FPV, what batch of FPV cycle motors have defective glue? I mean, you would have to ask FPV Cycle whether they have identified those and pulled them out of rotation, or whether they're just shipping them and replacing them when they go bad. I don't know the answer to that. But I would just ask and see what they say. If they say that they're shipping them, and like, I don't know how they would identify the ones with the bad glue without flying them. I don't know. So if in fact they are shipping them and then just replacing them when they fail, you got to ask yourself how you feel about that. Because if the motor craps out and it causes you to crash your quad and you break your frame or you break your flight controller, you're out more than the cost of the motor, which is unfortunate if that happens. Most of the time when a motor bell drops, you see it coming before you crash. And you're like, oh, I see. I got to replace these. If you bought them when they were first released, then you have to assume that they might be affected. We are 5 minutes from the end of the stream. Aaron Ciotti is going to be streaming tonight as well. He's going to be starting at 10 o'clock, and he's posting the link to his stream. VV says, I got one of those Darwin FPV baby apes. The ESC died. One motor stopped working. Banggood's not helping much. No, they won't be much help. Is it possible to fix the ESC? No, but you can replace it. Sorry you had that experience. That sucks. Nays 32 is obsolete, Ethan, and then Nedidic. F1 and F3 processors are obsolete. F4 or higher is what you need. Per arm ESCs are not completely obsolete, but mostly. Portable transmitter for hiking, asks. One of the best small transmitters, in my opinion, is the Radiomaster Zorro. It has very small batteries and short, you get about an hour and a half of flight at full power, which is not very long, but it's a nice small transmitter. The Jumper T Pro is even smaller, but the switch layout to me is a little weird, and I would take the Zorro over the T Pro personally. Oh. Squirrely says it doesn't reboot, it just shuts down for a second. Does it shut down the motors and then they come back on, Squirrely? Man, I really missed that purple wash. I forgot to plug that light in before the stream, and now then the battery died. It didn't make it through the end of the stream. Whew. So embarrassing. Oh well, life will go on, I suppose. The Zorro is out of stock everywhere. You're right. Sure. There's that. What's Radiomaster doing this week? I'll tell you on the 8th. I'll have a video coming out on the 8th. Who uses batteries in lights? Asks Kyle K. Oh. Come on, Kyle. Oh, battery dead. This is what I use for my wash lights. It's amazing. It's freaking amazing. Oh, look at that. You can't even see what color it is. Changeable color? That's upside down. There we go. What do we got? Can totally go through the color using HSV. Oh, yeah. See? Adjustable brightness. Let's go to 316. That's my color, 316. You can do that. Oh, man. You can have a Kelvin. You can choose your Kelvin. Yeah, really cool. Really cool light. But it's battery powered. $60. Money well spent. Purple. You can't tell that it's purple. It just looks white. Now I'm blind. Squirrely, the motors stop and then come right back on again. What do you see in the OSD when that happens, Squirrely? Oh, there we go. Thank God. Now I look like a streamer again. Thank you, Elijah Butler, for a $10 super chat. Thanks for all the info helping me get into FPV. I'm graduating college in film production. I'm looking for jobs in FPV. Where can I find some? Elijah, check out my recent video about how they went pro, where I interviewed Aaron Ciotti, Mr. Steele, Paul Nurkala, and Tommy, oh my God, about how they went pro. I'm not sure if it will directly. We specifically talk about how they got their first job, so I would suggest that you try that. What do we got? Oh, okay, flashing. What we got here? Ooh, I don't know what that is. Wow. Oh. Wow, police lights? We do. Look, there's a police officer in my room. I'm being arrested for being too cool. Fire truck? Oh man, I'm too hot for SOS. Lightning. Oh, there's a lightning storm in here. Whoa, you guys, watch out. Lightning 2. Oh, the lightning storm's getting worse. TV screen. Wow, there's an old static TV screen in the distance. Nothing in the OSD. Okay. Just the motor stop with nothing in the OSD. To me, that's an ESC problem. All right. Alrighty, guys. It's 10 o'clock. Thank you so much for coming. I'm going to get out of here and let Ciati go on the air. I will see you guys tomorrow for the news and throughout the week. Thanks, as always. Happy flying, you guys.